intelligent species, if any intelligent species got the hold of it, they actually can decode it by using these particular instructions that have been provided. Uh, After that, one of the examples is how this circle would look in if decoded properly with the sound waves. It would look something like this. Another image was there were thousands of image. Another image was of a father and son, which you can see here after being decoded. It looks something like this, and it would be very interesting to actually for any other species which is as intelligent as us to actually look upon it. Now one of the very interesting aspect is I'll show you one of the videos on YouTube, which is by the channel Word Science, and it would tell you in much more detail. It's a short clip that I would show you of two things, which I hope you guys can see over here. Uh, if if I tell you how they decoded the textual based data, actually the basis was cathode ray tube, but for people like us who are in architecture industry, who are in urban planning industry, the visual programming is much more easier than doing the whole scientific research on cathode ray. So I'll show you a short clip of it. It would be quite interesting for you all. Now, as you can see, the decoding of textual based data is very powerful, and you can actually use this in order to do almost anything that is there. Another was an example of how they decoded these audio into the images, which a short video has been shown over here. I'll lower down the, and as you can see, these sound waves, these radio waves, they as they go on, different kinds of images they appear, and there are images of human bodies, the structure of human body, and the water, what is water, and in different sort of uh, visual imaging patterns, and there were thousands of images, but integrating them into one particular record was very difficult. But this can be done with the help of CSV data, because CSV takes much less space, and during that particular time this was the best technology. But right now we can actually do it at our home rather than doing it in a scientific lab. uh, Now, what are the CSV files? These are comma separated values. And these are delimited text values, which uses comma as a field separator. These can be produced in any Excel sheet, and even in Notepad. Uh, in a notepad, the data that you have in CSV files looks something like this. It has one particular comma in between every data, and it separates all the data points into columns. As you can see, if I input that particular uh, delimited file into an Excel sheet, it would look something like this. It has all the information. What type of, this is one of the data set that I got from World Trade Organization, the WTO, and this can be inputted, and it shows all the agriculture imports into different countries in tonnage thousands, and these data sets could be very large, and they might depict thousands and millions of data points which actually can be visualized very easily with these methods. Now, where are these data sets? These can be obtained from different government websites. These can be obtained from different space agencies, ISRO, NASA, European space agencies, and these can be actually made by you for your custom information that you have actually acquired from different sources. These can be based upon your own research, and you can actually produce your own data sets. One of the websites that has really interesting data sets which are useful for the initial research in any project that you might be doing for urban analysis and urban research and urban design is NASA Earth observations, where they have put thousands of and thousands of data sets that relate to these different data sets captured by the remote sensors. If I go into global temperature anomaly, uh, you can actually see that this data set is actually for all of the years. You can actually obtain data sets from 1880 onwards, and this is amazing because something from 1880 is actually calculated by the NASA themselves. This is not we didn't actually have the satellites back then, but this has been calculated by the historic data, and they have depicted it in pixels. Now, how do we obtain the data sets from these type of websites? You can actually obtain from downloads. You can actually obtain it in JPEG, PNG, GeoTIFF. But these particular four formats that you have are produced by them, and they will actually have the copyright for these kind of things. But how to depict it in your own way, in your own customized way, you can actually download the CSV for Excel over here. Now these are in 0.5 degrees and 1 degrees. Now, what does these degrees means? These degrees are usually the area that they cover on Earth. As we know, Earth is divided, and we will cover that particular thing later on in the presentation. And as you can see, 720 into 360. Now, what does this depict? It is actually the columns and the rows, number of columns and number of rows in any Excel sheet, or you might say the pixel size. Now, if I download this particular data set, it actually looks something like this, which has all the latitudes and the longitudes on either side, and has thousands and thousands of data points. And if I select all of them, the count turns out to be 260,000 data sets. Now, nobody can actually possibly do it by themselves. So we need softwares like Grasshopper to actually analyze this type of data visually, because this is really hard to actually process. And as you had heard in the previous YouTube video, that it took him almost 12 hours to actually decode that particular data set of just 512 coding bytes. So you can actually do a lot with these type of data sets. Now, as we have understood the data sets over here, we can actually see some examples, as I showed you an example of the NEO data set. But what does these data sets depict in their pixels? Actually, one row or column, what does it depict? So the satellites capture the data through scanning in various ways. The whole Earth has been divided. The whole surface has been divided into numerous particular graphical representations, which are usually called the cells over here. And these can be depicted differently. These can be in seconds. These can be in minutes, which are usually the longitudes and latitudes. There are different types of scanners in the satellites. There is a whisk broom scanner, which scans across track. There is push broom scanner, which is along the track, and then there is radar. any satellite that captures the data, it sweeps through one particular side, and it would be really difficult to actually, it is not actually possible because our Earth is not flat. So it is not possible to actually capture the data in one go. So the different space agencies have divided the Earth into these latitude, longitudes, these seconds and minutes, and then they capture the data through sweeping across and capturing it in the sensors. Now, how do we display the data in 2D? As most of you might know, that the Earth is then then represented through these kind of uh, different WGSs. Now, these projections, different projections. One of the standard projection is the WGS 84, which the Rhino as a standard uses WGS84 for the depiction of any data through Grasshopper. But this can be changed. The projections can be changed according to our own will through GIS softwares, which we'll see in further on in the presentation. Now, the WGS reference frame, as shown over here, how it is calculated and how Earth is folded across, and it EPSG is 4326, and it looks a bit like this, where you can see Earth is a bit stretched across and it is some of the areas that you might see Canada and Alaska look a lot bigger than they actually are, and the Antarctica, it is stretched across the map very much. Now, WGS84 is the default projection, which can actually be changed through the use of GIS programs. Now, how does the data that has been taken from these websites, how does it look in Grasshopper? These are the data trees. As you see, there is one particular stem to it, and it it is divided in branches across in Grasshopper. Now these data trees actually depict the different branches and can be divided further on. These could be unlimited, as you can see, from one particular data tree stem to multiple branches, and then you can see there are connected into various branches, and further each branch can also be divided into these data sets. Uh, in Grasshopper, usually there is this canvas which is there where we do all the visual programming, and then there is this particular there are further plugins of Grasshopper also there, these components as they are called, and these components have various functions. One of the standard component is the data set, which you can see there are lists, there are sequences, there are sets, there is text, and then there is an option for trees. So now we'll actually, since we have gone through all the particular examples and historically how we have achieved and how we have come to the these data sets and these CSV files. Now we'll see some examples of what actually can be achieved through processing these data sets. First of all, the basic function that most of the architects and most of the students and a lot of researchers use is the processing the terrain in Grasshopper. 3D terrain to be used for your own, to be combined with your own, like buildings, your own master planning, can be achieved, and this is very useful because further on I'll tell you how we can actually process these terrain mappings further into much more detailed structures and analysis. Voronoi can be achieved. These type of 3D printed terrain mappings can be used, which is very useful for your research. This is one of the research done by one of the students in London who was actually trying to design some very biophilic type structures through terrain mapping, and how it would actually sit on the terrain itself. And you can also, like, why Grasshopper is very interesting is you can actually process all of the dimensions, and you can actually produce it in 3D printing or in different formats, and you can actually realize it in life. One of the students from University College London, Zwain Dai, in 2014, had this topographic manipulation of of a particular area, the original topography and the merged topography, how this topography can be manipulated with the use of these biophilic buildings. And if any, you can see, like, from architects to urban designers to actually the landscape architects can use this, and they can achieve these different goals, whatever they might have for their research in it. Another was like computation of vegetation in this particular topography, which actually can uh, through image processing, this can be actually achieved in points and vectors, because Rhino is basically a vector-based software. It needs a particular direction of every point or every curve that it makes. Another one is processing the Voronoi, or you can even process these particular uh, in 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 uh, in your urban design, urban planning. You can even manipulate this into particular uh, mappings or master plans. You can analyze them by different methods. Here the particular person is trying to analyze the nearest point through different uh, to different locations in this particular map. uh, Another one is data visualization. Now you can actually visualize this type of very creative method of visualizing the data, and this actually looks like a data tree, but as you can see, when we have thousands and thousands of data points, you can actually achieve that, which I don't think could be achieved in any other except Python or some other softwares. This type of data visualization is not actually possible, and you can actually take out very interesting results from these type of data visualizations. Um, During my time in London, I came across these works of John Cook and Alice Thompson, which is the mind which is who actually are from the studio that I was in, DS18, and this depicts their custom data sets in which they have integrated multiple types of datas, and you can actually integrate them and edit them through various methods, and the data, how it is visualized across the globe for their own research. And this is very interesting because these type of maps are actually in development, and in future the cartography might change due to this particular software. Another thing is the Platteville, which was by John Cook, and analysis of plant species, which he did across different data sets in Grasshopper, and actually analyzing them on a short patch of these maps, and which depict these different farmlands in America. And also you can analyze what different type of species can be grown over here. Another thing is, if you want to depict some data points, now in the nature of pulp as a group means of member, uh, they 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 have right now analyzed the different pulps and different locations and what they actually depict, and you can actually connect them in Grasshopper, and you can see the projection here is a bit different as compared to the standard WGS84 in Grasshopper, uh, which is actually interesting because you can actually change or edit the whatever the results you have achieved in Grasshopper through softwares like QGIS, which is a free software, as compared to ArcGIS, which is a paid software online. Another thing is one of the very interesting urban design, urban theory, which somebody had done and achieved through Grasshopper itself, was this type of urban typologies, where you can generate high level and very large scale geometries in the in this particular kind of environment. Uh, Very interesting thing about Grasshopper is you can actually visualize the data in 3D. You can actually generate your own globe, and you can actually in 3D globe you can generate and actually um, place your points of data and your points of interest onto a 3D globe and generate these type of 3D globes, which is very interesting, because if something is produced in 3D, you can actually achieve these type of results in and convert them into animations straight away, and convert them into much more customized visuals which you might have. Some of the data sets from a previous example, the pulp, you can actually visualize the data into different graphs, or and this is very interesting, because these are visually appealing also, whereas these contain thousands of data sets, and can depict it much more easily rather than anything else. You can even generate your own kind of 3D graphs. And then one of the very best example is this particular 3D graph was also generated in real life model. And in real life model, you can actually experience these kind of graphs on a human scale. And when something can be experienced on human scale, that becomes much more informative, and you can actually you relate to it much more than anything else. One of the websites which on which you can actually go and check out the work is of Design Studio 18, which I would open and show you guys some examples of what can actually be achieved. And this particular studio is by Ben Pollock, John Cook, and uh, and Laura Nica, who are tutors at University of Westminster. And the guest critics, as you can see, there is a long list of guest critics who actually have analyzed the data and are quite advanced in their fields. Sorry about that. And the data sets can be visualized, as I'll go through some of the data sets over here. They can be visualized and integrated with your own projects. As you can see over here, the data that they calculated was integrated with their own um, particular their own project. And this is very interesting, because you'll see a very high level of skill in visualizing and analyzing this data, but you'll also see very unique examples of some of the data sets that have been produced, and these kind of Norwegian landscapes and what they actually depict over onto the site. And you can have your own. This was a kind of something depicting the bees and their maximum travel distance across Norway. And some of the examples are in 3D globe also, which I'll show you further on. And these kind of research-based visualizations and kind of, as you can see over here, the magnetism of Earth has been depicted over here, which is very interesting to see. Like, you can visualize these type of data sets, and then you can actually make them into 3D, and how these would look like on a human scale, these magnetic interventions of Earth, and then integrating them into your own buildings or master plans could be very, very interesting. And some of other examples over here. And then I would further on show you my presentation also. And one of the very best example is this kind of data set, which is depicted on a globe level. Um, After this, there are for your reference, there are a few websites which actually have further detailed compositions of these kind of things. The generative landscapes. Now, in the generative landscapes, there is one particular example that I would like to show you all, is that of water runoff script. When designing any city or master planning or researching about any place, we might have topography, but through that topography, if we want to analyze where the water would run off, this can be actually analyzed. Even if we don't have any data, this can actually be analyzed through Grasshopper scripting, where you can actually take out the rhino terrain, which is using the elk, which is a component of rhino, and you can divide that into different random points. And these random points then can be, through different scripts, can be analyzed uh, into the water runoff. As you can see, there is one particular how the water would travel to the base through ridges and the mountains, and then the result would be something like this. Now, even this kind of scripting and data sets are useful for not only for urban designers, urban master planners. These are useful for even the engineers, because when we design any dam, any kind of structure, these could be very useful, because as we know, in Uttarakhand, in past few years, there have been like very serious floods, and using something and analyzing the terrain like this, we can actually pinpoint the areas where it would be actually safe to build, and safe to actually propose something. And why I am showing you all these external data sources is because in future, if you want to actually learn these scriptings and actually develop yourself in future, you can actually use these kind of websites to actually get inspired from these and learn from these, rather than going anywhere. Because these are very self-learning is very important in this particular aspect, because Grasshopper is the first major component of learning Grasshopper. The first major point would be the self-learning, because we understand much more through self-learning rather than anything else. And here they try to populate this particular area with 2000 initial random population of 2000 points, the whole point collection after 20 rounds of looping, which they tell us here is looks something like this. And then you can visualize the data and just realize how these particular, where the water would be collected and where this would. Other than this, there are hundreds of different scripts which you can actually use. 3D Cantor gets set, which you can use for very interesting urban designs, and you can actually learn mathematically from these data sets and examples that have been depicted over here. One of the examples that I would give you all right now is of one of my maps that I had. This was the map that was presented by Massachusetts Institute of Technology for the Visualizing the Cities Projection 16 exhibition. What this depicts is the imports of vegetable in context to United Kingdom, because United Kingdom depends a lot on imported vegetables and fruits. Because of the weather here, it is very difficult. And I was doing a project called Horticulture Port. The Horticulture Port was actually the result of this type of research, where I actually analyzed the data throughout the globe, from which country do they import most of their fruits and vegetables, and how much this has changed over the years. But one of the very important points was depicting the cropland into population. If I could zoom in over here, the cropland into population divided by water, which actually depicts the how much a country is self-dependent onto it, and how much a country doesn't need to import these kind of vegetables and fruits from other. As we can see over here, the India is quite self-dependent along with the China, and here it is not, because Tibet is a very cold area, whereas as you can see over the Sahara region, it is also depicted that it is not much self-sufficient region, along with the Serbia and the colder regions of Canada, and the desert part of around Arizona and Nevada in USA. And here we can see the depiction was around the particular area of Amazon, because not much cropland is existing over there. There is the natural vegetation and forests that are present over there, whereas these green squares, they depict the imports in 1993 as compared to the squares with the simple lines that depict the imports in 2018. There is a big difference in the imports. How did I analyze this particular data? Was I actually it was a very big script where I inputted the data of Excel sheet on agriculture imports, which I analyzed with the local coordinates and the carbon emissions, which then was used with the input of 2018 and 1993 carbon import data, and analyzed it with the population graph. Um, a lot of mathematical formulas can actually be used in Grasshopper, which I would depict in the final few slides. And we will also do a Grasshopper script of our own. Another map was analyzing. Here I have combined the GIS data and the particular data of data analyzed in Grasshopper, which I analyzed throughout the croplands, the railway lines, and different fruit production hub to achieve the one particular site throughout the UK. I analyzed this, and this was the crop field water stress with the number of people who live in UK. This was a relatively very small script and can be easily done. One of the very interesting examples was the map of Europe. As you can see how this particular data set can be customized along with the shipping ports and shipping routes that can also be integrated into it, and we can actually visualize before we start our own designing process through these methods. Uh, Here the different ports. This was actually purely text-based data which was there. Different ports, how much do they actually, what are their locations, and how much do they import yearly? What is the amount of their importing, and from where the national distribution centers in UK work of their particular imports in vegetables and fruits majorly. And this was the pollution pollution information depicted visualized over here in the map. Now I think we should process our own Grasshopper script, which we will process in Rhino. And as you can see, in Rhino, it is a simple CAD software which has this kind of um, graph, and as I go over onto as you can see over here in the world, X, Y, and Z coordinates are depicted, and as I move my cursor, this is into the positive side, if you see over here, and when I take it over, this is into the Y negative, X positive, and then both X and Y are negative, and the Y positive and X negative, which is very simple geometric data that we have over here. Now the data set which we will process is one of the data sets that I have downloaded from the NASA NEO website, the Earth observation website itself, which is 360 into 180. And as I zoom out, you can see the amount of data into this and how we can actually achieve. This is the temperature data globally in November 2021. And as you can see, there are different numbers across here, which actually depict the particular temperature anomalies. But this is actually the radar data, and you actually cannot achieve the amount of temperature which actually can be done through Grasshopper itself. Then we have latitudes and longitudes over here. Now, how this textual data would be processed, we'll launch the Grasshopper, uh, which looks something like this. As I told you all earlier, these are the components, different components which you can actually integrate into it. Now, one of the very interesting components is Kangaroo, which is structural component, and it can be used to process the structural data. Then there is Ladybug and Honeybee, which is used for the radiation mapping, and then we can process this type of textual data and combine it with these components in order to achieve a very informative uh, visualization. How do we start on this canvas is simply by double clicking on the canvas, and it asks me to enter a search keyword. So it is a file. I would say I would input a particular file path into this, and when I input a file path, this particular component, it is uh, very easy to use, because if I hover my mouse on it, it says contains a collection of file paths, empty text parameter, and if I right click on it, it shows me different options over here, where I can actually select one existing file. And if I go over to this particular file, which I kept over here for the November 2021 temperature data, if I open it, it turns gray. Now, why has it turned gray? Because we have already put in the data into it, and we would put in the panel. A panel is just like a notepad. If you want to write anything, if you want to write any textual based data, this particular panel would be used in every case that you have. And it shows me right now, it shows me the location of the file that I have used. Now there is a file, but I want to read the file, so I would just type read file component over here. Now we see over here, as I had earlier told you, it always goes from right to left. It never goes from left to right. So if I have a file path, I'll have to go from right to left. And visual programming is very interesting, because I can actually showcase these type of different things over here. Now sometimes it shows these errors. Now, why is it showing an error? The file content passing failed. The process cannot access the file because it is being used by another process. It would also show you all the errors and what is wrong with your script, and this is happening because my file is open over here, which I would close. If I reconnect this particular file, this will show me something like this. Now it has read the file, but what is in the file? So I would again connect a panel to it and check out what is actually there in the file. And along with any standard GIS, the CSV file, sorry about that, any standard CSV file contains these commas in between. There is latitude and longitude, and this contains all of the data sets that we have over here. Now, the data tree that I was telling you, how does that look like? So if I go into param viewer, which is used to check out the the particular, if I hover over it, view of the data structures that has been inputted into it, I'll see. So it has data with one branch, contains 181 sub branches. If I click over it, it shows me something like this. It has right now only one particular data, but in order to like differentiate among these, what we'll do is there is a simple component split text. Now, if I text split over here, now it is asking me for two particular inputs. One is the text, is the separators. Now in CSV, any CSV file, the separator is a comma. So I would input into the panel a particular comma, and if I go into it, now this would look something like this. So right now, till now, what we have done is we have inputted a file into the visual programming software. We have read the file. We have asked the Grasshopper to read the file, and it says that the contents of the file are these. And then we have analyzed the text split. Even in these Excel sheets, the text files, they are splitted with the comma, the delimited text split, and these commas are actually what splits it into multiple data points. Now, the result of this particular file would be, it has converted my panel into these type of, rather than having these, I now have separated all of the values that I have over here. For your information, I have actually inputted a very low quality of data set over here, because sometimes reading the data sets might take a bit of a minute or two, but since we have a limited time over here, I have inputted something that is 360 into 180. Now, if I use this into the param viewer, now how does this data set looks after we have split it? This data set looks like all of the 181 branches contain 361 data points. And this must be same throughout, because any missing data set or data point would be considered 0, and this would not reach. And if I select this, now you can see from a simple single point, we have actually reached to a very complex structure of data, which is split 3 times. Now, what does this split means? When I click over here, you would see 0, 0, and 0. And when I click over here, this can be shown over here, that's 0, 0, and 0. Now, how to actually analyze these results, how to actually take out the results. Now, during this comes the particular set in which contains list, these very different, which contains range. You can even use the Fibonacci series, you can use the sequence, you can use the sets, you can use the text, you can use the trees, you can even shift the trees, you can filter this tree, and you can use different types of inputs, and you can even the replace path compare, which you can actually do over here. Now what we would do is we would split the list. Now, because we know that first one, the first particular column that was depicted over here contains only one form of latitudes or longitudes that we had. So I would split the list, and how I would do it is I would say number 1. If I split the list with number 1, there would be 2 lists now. There would be the list A, which contains all of the latitudes or longitudes, whichever the data is over there. And then it would contain another list, which is all of the data points with one of the form of latitudes and longitudes. Now, since we have read it, but this contains this data set has gone a bit complicated. How to simplify this particular thing? We can actually use we can flatten the tree. it is, I'm referencing it a tree because the data set actually, when visualized in Grasshopper, looks like a tree. So they just have a very custom name for it. When I input this particular data set into it, how it would look like is, it would look something like this. From different, you can see now, from these 4 parts, 4 different steps, it has come down to one particular, only one step. Whereas in this particular thing, we would simplify the tree, because we do not want to flatten it, because it contains, right now, it contains a lot of other information as well. So we would simplify the tree. And what we would see over here is this type of panel. So now, everything till now, we have not inputted any particular point. We have not inputted any particular data into the 3D visualization. Till now, what we have done is we have only read the file. We have only split the file into different components. And if I go on further in this script, we can visualize the points, and I would do that now. The thing is that I only want numbers over here. I do not want the latitude and the longitude thing. So sorry about that. So param viewer, I would check out how many data points are there, which is very useful for it. So it says it has 181 data points, which I would do. What I would do here is, I would actually, again, I would use split list. And if I input 1 over in it, so it now contains only the numbers that I actually want, and it has 180 points right now. And here also I want to take out the longitudes and latitudes, so that we can actually make the points. So it has 360 in each and every one, and has 181 branches over here. So what I would do is, right now I would flatten the tree, and I would try to achieve this particular goal of and what we would achieve here is we would achieve a continuous data point. And if we see over here, we go to, if we make it larger, we can actually see that over till 359, because every list starts from number 0. Over till 359, we have these particular points. These flatten and unflatten simplifiers can be achieved from even right-clicking on a list, and we have options over here. We can reverse, flatten, graft, and simplify these particular files over here. Now, since I have this particular text data, I would split the list. But right now, if I split the list, I wouldn't use I wouldn't use number 1. I would use 360, because that's the point I actually want over here. So if I split 360, I would be able to see 2 different lists over here. One is the list of all the numbers of the latitudes and longitudes, which can be plotted into, as you can see, 179.5 was our last number over here, and here is 179.5, and the points over here. Since we have splitted all the data sets that we actually need right now, what I would now do is I would construct a point. Because there was no point earlier, I would actually construct a point, and it is asking me for the X and the Y coordinates, which actually can be visualized over here. And uh, take it, I would make it smaller. As you can see, we have the list over here. And as I input the construct point, by default, it takes all the coordinates as 0, as you can see, and is depicted on there is a point which turns green depicted on the origin of this particular list. And if I input X coordinates, you can see there is one particular thing that appears. And if I depict this, so it comes something like this. But what it is relating to is each X point right now is relating to one Y point. It is not relating to multiple Y points. So I need to graph the list, graph tree. Now, if I graph the tree over here, and if I split it, as you can see, it is already divided, and you can see the different points that we have over here. But where is which point to visualize that, other than this particular list? This contains the initial file to process. We can even input different CAD files which you might have produced in other different softwares. So if I import, you can see it shows me options for importing XYZ, importing points, importing 3D, and importing even the shape files which you have, which we usually use in GIS, default GIS softwares. It can import the OSM street networks, import shape files, again, or import OSM features, or import Urbano models, and import LAS. Right now, we need to import the 3DM file. I have a particular, it again asks for the file. I have a particular file in which I have all the countries and the map of globe. So I will import. It is asking for a file path. So I'll select one existing file. I'll select the world map, and I'll process that. And once I process that, as you can see, it is the points are depicted over on the globe itself. So this particular globe gives us a reference of which point is where. And where we are actually seeing these data points, and what is being done. Then you can even input the layers, and then we have the geometry. Now the geometry it doesn't consist of textual data, but it consists of referenced polyline curves. And we would leave this over here right now. Now, once I go back to these points, I need a Z point. I do not have a Z point right now. If I input these particular things, then I can get the Z point from these points. Since I grafted the list, I can see in the param viewer how many points are there, because it actually, when I grafted the list, it actually multiplied these number of points, because I would show you what is the difference over here. So it earlier had data with one branch, which I had when I had flattened it. And if I use this particular data, and if I input this, when it graphs the list, it multiplies the data sets by themselves. So it divided itself into different points, which are 360 different points, and each point is multiplied by all of the numbers here. Each point is multiplied all of the numbers here, which results into these kind of data points. Now the Z coordinate, which we have over here, in this we will look at the param viewer, and we have 64,800 points. And if I show you how much the resulting data set would be, if I if I show you, okay, this had 180, and in the multiplication, if we do, if in multiplication I input 180 over here into 360, then the resultant would be 64,800. Now 64,800 is what we wanted to achieve over there. So now each of these points would actually relate to each and every point over here that we have, uh, and makes it quite very interesting. So if I input the Z coordinates, it would take a bit of time because it is processing 64,800 points into a CAD software. And if I had taken any other input which was larger than this, it would have taken much more time. So it would take a bit of time till then. What I would do is, we can actually let it be for right now. So since it has processed all the points over here, it's still processing. So it has processed all the points over here. So right now we are looking at it from the top. If I go into perspective, it'll show you the resultant points. So it's taking a bit of toll on itself when doing it. But not to worry, you can actually use this for other data sets which usually do not take much time. And if I zoom in on any particular portion over here, you would actually see the points in not in a particular straight line, but these points are actually in, if I show you from the front elevation, these points are at different locations. Now we can actually achieve different results from it. Like right now it is standard visualization, but if I say dot display, now how to customize these things. Now dot display, and the it asks for a color. The color can be if I take this, turn this off, the color can be according to the height also. So there is a gradient tool in this one, and every data set has its foundations, uh, which can be depicted by the minimum and maximum bounds. If I input the number, so it would create a domain. So a domain consists of, it takes out the low value and the high value. Now, why did it take there are some numbers, as we can see over here, 99,999, which actually is a false value, which can be actually, which can actually be changed. We can even replace text in this. If I use the replace text before using anything else, so find 99,999, sorry, and 99, and we can replace it by, say, 0. So it will replace all of the results. And once I have replaced all of the results, I would actually input this again over there. And this would be now a bit faster because 99,999 was the one which was actually taking a toll over it. We usually have to wait a bit for these kind of processes to take place. But it is interesting how you can actually visually and very easily you can process. Once you have learned the Grasshopper, you can actually achieve a lot more through these softwares. Not just simple temperature data, but you can input multiple data sets into it. And if now we select the bounds of this particular data set, then then it will come out to be a bit different. It is right now minus 5.01 to 6.43. Now minus 5.01 to 6.43 is actually the standard value which we get from the satellite capturing the data for every second or every minute. But we can input our own equations or formulas into this, and we can actually, if I go into math, there are polynomials, there is log, natural logarithm, script, evaluate. If I input evaluate, this will evaluate different way. You can input the matrix operators, equality, similar to, you can analyze this data mathematically in any way. There are different types of things that can be used. Even you can use a logarithm. You can use natural logarithms, and you can even use log n, along with the different C hash scripts, the Grasshopper Python scripts, VB scripts, and even we can enter an expression. Now here you can actually, what you can do is, the Planck's formula is actually used to process the values that we get from a satellite, because these values are of visual, visible or infrared spectrum, the colors. But we can actually analyze this and get actual, if I input the Planck's theorem, it can actually convert these into real temperatures, into Celsius and into centigrade and other formats of other units. Now I need to deconstruct the domain from this. Now, if I deconstruct the domain, it would tell me a start number and an end number, which I can input into the lower limit and to the upper limit. But what are the parameters? Now, the parameters along the gradient range are actually the numbers over in this particular list, which we had achieved. So now if I input, I have the points over here. If I input the points, it will display them into dot format. It would take a bit of time. So your own computer is analyzing all of these points, and now right now we had the 64,800 points, which each point will have its own different color, and these spectrums there are very different spectrums that are available for us. And as you can see right now, we have in the Rhino, we have WGS84, which can actually be extracted into DXF and DWG files or any other format, and then it can be converted, the projections can be converted into different projections, the UK uses the British National Grid, which has a different EPSG of 27,700, whereas there are other EPSGs also, which can be used to, there is Mercator map, you can convert this into Mercator map by the use of QGIS, a very simple use, if I say. So now it's taking a bit of time, but okay, no worries. we can actually wait for this for a bit. It doesn't take much time, but since I do not have a very good computer right now, so it's taking a bit of toll on it. Um, but these points can actually be displayed, and the results would be very interesting to see if okay. So it even shows out the how much time it takes in completing the solutions and how much time ago it did complete the solution. Um, and right now it's taking a bit of time due to a number of points that we have over there. But anyways, we can actually wait for it. Um, well, anyways, we'll let this go right now, and I'll show you some of the results that actually can be achieved uh, in this particular software through different means. One of the very good examples that I would show you right now, if you wait for me a bit. Some results for the temperatures can be depicted in forms like this, which are the attractor curves and sets are used, and the same kind of data set has been used over here, and the resultant dots looked something like this, which can be curled throughout. The one mistake that I made, I took out the example, I took out the points of the whole globe rather than actually we can actually cull these into a one particular area, smaller area. Once it processes, if it does, then maybe I'll show you sometime how does it look like. But these kind of the same actually the same script has been used over here to construct the points and then actually achieve these lines and these files. It has, well, it's taking a bit of time. We will leave it to itself. Another things that you can actually do, I would show you some examples over here of what can be achieved is we can even do the image mapping of different jollies onto these very organic structures, and at the same time we can achieve the radiation mapping through the processes in Grasshopper, along with making our own Voronoi around. Suppose if we want to depict some data around the globe, we can even use this, which is very interesting because a globe like this, somebody might not even visualize. Some layman who actually isn't very familiar with these kind of softwares. And
It seems due to the connectivity issue. Architect Nikhil Berwal is unable to join. I'm waiting for him. He has joined back. So let me make him co-host.
Hi, sir. Sorry, I lost my internet connection over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was explaining regarding the script over here. So I'll quickly show the results of one particular area that I had earlier talked about. It was quite interesting, and well, internet, it doesn't let you work always. Okay. So I would share my screen now with all of you again. And here we have the Grasshopper and the script. So what till now, what we had done, we had inputted a particular file, then we had read the file. The process was this, and then we had split the text over from it using the comma separators. What we had done was, so in the comma separators, we had got different values of it. The values were as follows. Now, if I split list, it would be split it into two parts. From number one, I had split the list. And if I split the list, I get two particular parts of it, one this and one this. And right now, what I would do is I would flatten this list and then split it furthermore in order to take out the particular text of latitude and longitude, which we actually don't require over here. So I have got another list over here of all the latitudes and longitudes. And if I flatten this list as well, so I can achieve these numbers. As you can see, 65,159 numbers we have, but we wanted to get the first 360 numbers out of it. So we will again split the list over here. I hope you all can see my screen, right?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, so thank you very much. So 360, if we input the textual data, and then it comes down to, again, the latitude, longitudes, and all the information that we actually require. Now, what earlier we had done was we had earlier inputted in the construct points. We had actually earlier, sorry about that. In the construct point, we had put up we had put up all of the coordinates x, y, and z. Whereas right now, what I would do is I would only put up the x and y coordinates and will not put up the z coordinate right now, so that it might and I would graph the tree over here, what we had earlier done, and it was x coordinate, and then we have the y coordinate. Suppose I want to actually achieve, and I would put in the input the import 3DM. So import 3DM, and then I have the file path, world map, and then I have this particular world map over here. But suppose I want the temperature data only for the South Asian countries. So what I can actually do is I can make a box. Uh, I can make box by different methods, but what I'll do over here is center box, and I need to define a particular point. I can even define a custom point over here, set one point, and if I set one point, suppose I set a point in middle of India, so then I can define through number sliders. If I put up 1,000, it would come out to be the number slider. So I can adjust that later on. And as you can see, if I select the 1,000, it becomes very big. So I want the data only for this particular part of the map, of the global map. So what I'll do is I have these points. Now I will cull all the points. Now the cull pattern could be very different. I can take out the points in BREP. Now BREP is a standard geometry. So I can use this, then I can use this. So it would tell me actually in true and false how many points are inside, how many points are actually outside. And I can flatten this. And if I flatten this, I have 64,799 points over here. Then what I need to do is curl pattern. In the curl pattern, I can input a particular list of points, and it would cull out all of the points that are actually false, and it would actually give me a result. I can disable the preview, and the list is of points. And when I take out the list, right now it's showing me all the false because we have not put up any Z direction. Now the point which I had inputted, let's see. The point was all in, if you see the Z value is 0, I would construct a different point, which I would input in 10. 10 would be the X and Y coordinate, or maybe I can actually take out the points from, I can deconstruct the point over here and take out its points as well. And X and Y coordinate from this particular point, and Z I can say -10. Sorry, -10. If I input the -10, it would take it a bit below, and then I can make it in 3D. And now if I put in Z, maybe I can even adjust the number slider multiple times. And as you can see, this is a totally mathematical based particular software. So if I input the Z, then the curl pattern might change a bit. So some of the points are now true, and so right now, as you can see over here, I have a list of points which I can flatten, and I have achieved these many points over here. But in order to achieve these particular points, I'll also have to cull the patterns for these. But what I'll not do is I'll not flatten the list because I have all these points over here. What we can do is we can actually construct a line, and I would show you some of the results that I had shown you earlier. The start point would be, sorry about that. The line construction is there are a few options for everything in this. We have start, direction, and length. So the start direction would be here. The direction that I want is in Z direction, and the length would be this. So if I go on, and I will check out the results for this. So if I go on over here, I see these particular lines in different length. So you can see these lines and lengths have been provided here, which I can further divide these values actually through division. Through division, I can divide them by a factor of 1,000 maybe, and this can be different for all of these lines. And then if I input that particular one, so you can see how mathematical formulas and the processes that we actually cannot achieve in a simple GIS software can be achieved through Grasshopper. And you can even convert the data with different mathematical formulas like Planck's formula, which is used to convert these. So if I zoom in now over here, so you can see different results, and I had not yet the 99,999 is being displayed as a long one, which can be replaced as per 0. And there are different lines over here which are very small to actually see. And if I change the division factor, if I change the division factor, the line length could be changed on different scales. And this is how you can actually achieve custom results for it. It might not be working right now, but due to my computer, but in your laptops, it will definitely work, and you guys can actually achieve a lot more than what is being shown by me. As you had seen all these results over here, these kind of logarithmic equations and the data set points can actually be achieved through it. Not taking any more time, I would check out the final results. They're still very small, but no worries. We can actually, since we are short on time, we can actually stop over here. And I would now ask for any of the questions or doubts you might have. I'll stop sharing it.
If anyone from the participants wants to ask question, kindly unmute yourself.
I hope it was not overwhelming for anyone, because sometimes it could be a bit too much to take in a little bit of time. But I hope everyone had a bit of understanding of what can be achieved through these kind of softwares and these kind of data sets, which we actually get from these remote sensors. And it is very important, because everything uses a bit of math, and these mathematical calculations and your own mathematical equations can be used in order to achieve the very interesting results, the examples that I had shown over there.
Thank you very much, Nikhil. It was very new dimension for me, and maybe for most of the participants also, because integration of Grasshopper and this remote sensing GIS softwares, ArcGIS is one of them, or let's say QGIS is one of them. So representing all these data and like, let's say, providing a mathematical modeling to the, let's say, QGIS or ArcGIS in this parametric software called Grasshopper Parametrics. So it's quite interesting to know, and we will surely learn new things in this direction. Otherwise, we keep on doing things in, let's say, R or SQL or in MATLAB. So connecting all these softwares, and then we try to do something, or we basically tries, let's say, try in the form of model maker is there in QGIS and ADAS Imagine. So we try to model things or provide mathematical modeling to different kind of layers and ArcGIS or through the different thematic layers. So we keep on trying through that. So it was a totally new dimension from, at least from my understanding. Other participants can speak for themselves, but for me it was totally new that Grasshopper could be integrated into QGIS or ArcGIS. So that's, thank you very much, and that's quite new for me. So thank you very much for accepting our request of speaking on the particular topic, and it's basically a pleasure for all of us to listen to you on this specific direction of let's say integration of Grasshopper and GIS. So thank you, Nikhil. Any other participant, if they are having some doubt or questions related to the session, they are most welcome. It seems for all of them also, it was a totally new kind of experience. Although there are almost more than 50% of the participants are computer science engineers or, let's say, electronics engineers. So they might be aware of integrating different softwares, but I was not aware of this kind of tool. So for me, it was new. So from the side of all the participants, also, I thank you very much. And at least you make us awake of this kind of technology that can be integrated. So I hope those who are listening, they'll also try to integrate this kind of things in GIS.
Definitely, sir, and I'm very thankful to be introducing these kind of things. And if somebody was already aware of this particular software and this particular might be aware of the softwares, but the power of it and how much you can actually depict in it. And I'm really sorry for the end, because I don't really have a good computer there, which is why it keeps on hanging. It's a very old system, but in good systems, because there are a lot of universities and research programs which have the server based, which can actually calculate much more than a home desktop. These results can be achieved, and one of the very interesting dimension over here is you can not only depict this, but there is computational fluid dynamics which actually can be integrated into this, and you can visualize the airflow with your urban design in this particular thing, to analyze the airflow, to analyze the bridge manipulation, to analyze the bridge structure design, and even the you see the most important aspect is the structural design. A civil engineer can work with the wind simulator, or with an urban designer, with an architect. They can all integrate their creations in the CAD, which is the primary software for everyone. They can integrate their creations, they can integrate their work into one particular space. And this is very interesting to see. So to check out the final result, and then understanding the final result for the future perspectives. Because this one of the very best examples is from my tutor, Ben Pollitt, who actually is very young. He's not more than 3 years older to me, and is working in Maldives and analyzing how the Maldives can be protected in future from the flooding of the sea, and using the data collected from there and making his own custom data sets into and integrating it into Grasshopper, and then utilizing the results for achieving the particular goal is very interesting. Yeah.
These softwares can be integrated in this manner, and let's say the 3D simulators or let's say wind simulators can be used in this manner. I hope the cost that the physical implementation of basically wind tunnels in institutes will come low. That's how the practical examples can be conducted and can be simulated. So providing new dimension also is very beneficial to all the participants. So one more thing, like I would like to ask, like you were talking about the flooding area. So can we do it like, let's say, 3D modeling of these, let's say, generating the 3D models of the earth surfaces, and then can it be analyzed by using the Grasshopper like integrating the Grasshopper into ArcGIS? The visual.
Yes, sir, definitely. Definitely. The visual integration could be, the simulations can be done. So in Grasshopper, as I had shown one particular example where they were generating these waterways and visualizing the waterways on terrain. So what can be done is the Rhino has a power that it can actually result into the very 3D into the CFC cutters, and you can actually cut and make actually physical models through it. And you can even result this can even result into the 3D printers, because 3D printers can be integrated with Rhino, and mostly everywhere wherever they are used, even in my office where they are used, we use Rhino as the basis for it, because it depicts the simple vectors, and you can achieve that. And then through the physical models, and even in ArcGIS, suppose if I input something in ArcGIS, through these results, the shape files and everything like that can be actually used. And there are a few other softwares like RealFlow. RealFlow is one of the very best softwares to simulate the water flow, and these softwares are not very expensive actually. If you want to achieve something, the softwares, they 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 all have their, like Rhino has a 3-month trial period which can be used by any student in any institution. QGIS is actually free. Grasshopper comes with the Rhino itself for 3 months, and the biggest problem that I know is how to get these softwares. So there it is for free, available online, and you can learn it for yourself. And then an institution, when the most of the students are using it, an institution can provide these softwares to other people. And for most of the engineers, one of the softwares that they use is MicroStation in order to create a lot of things. And Autodesk Fusion also is used by a lot of mechanical engineers. And the results in Rhino can actually be imported and exported over to these softwares also.
Okay, integration, it produces the SPL file that we use basically in 3D printers. So that's quite good. Somebody, I was expecting a question, but somebody is appreciating the gaming chair that we are using.
Yes, so when you have to work for 10 to 12 hours a day, you need a good chair to sit on.
Thanks a lot, Nikhil. Thank you very much. And we'll keep on inviting you for the future lectures also. So thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much, sir.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. And it was a really a pleasure for me. And thank you, everyone. Have a really nice day. And hope you guys will use this and be curious about this much more now.
At least the curiosity has been generated by you. So we'll start
Mhm.
using it. At least we'll quote somewhere that somebody was
Yes,
there who
sir.
was using Grasshopper in combination to the ArcGIS. So thank you, Nikhil. Thank you very much. We'll end the session now. We'll call it a day. So thank you very much.
All right. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. To all the participants, thank you very much. And we are highly thankful to you. But the thing is, you should like at least interact with the speakers. Speakers are having different dimensions of different domains of knowledge, and they are clubbed together for this applications of ArcGIS and remote sensing advancements. So you all are requested to kindly participate in discussions rather than just sitting, let's say, by opening your systems. So I request you all again to kindly participate in discussions. We'll call it a day. I'll share the feedback form also. Today, the participation remained very low in the 3 sessions. So tomorrow we'll be having, let's say, Dr. Shama Gupta from Indian Institute of Remote Sensing. She'll be delivering on geospatial technologies for urban microclimate and urban heat waves. She has a vast experience in this field. And the thing is, she has written almost more than 15 papers in a single domain. That's basically in the form of how to start from scratch to the level of expertise that one go. Woodap classification is one of them, and she has let's say done Woodap classification for almost 3 cities, which has been accepted by Woodap. So you all are requested to kindly join in time. We'll be starting at 10:15 sharp. So I request you all to kindly be on time. Thank you very much.